wanted to take you on a little garden tour here today out on the homestead. I wanted to take you on a little garden tour today out on the homestead and show you a little bit of what's going on in the garden. This garlic here, I planted these last year in the fall, probably about September or something like that, and I ordered these bulbs, elephant garlic bulbs, and from that Baker seed company, and got these in here, and I believe this is elephant garlic. Over there's a few little garlic plants, and I've got this little row right here is coming on good. I've got some over here that's kind of a wild garlic, and they'll just come up everywhere, and they make little bitty cloves, and you can take and replant some of those. I don't ever need to because they tend to spread all over the garden, so when I till up this year I'll leave some of them. And but anyway, they're good. Like when my wife makes dill pickles, she puts them in the pickles, and a clove in each jar, and it gives them some good flavor. And so those are just big enough to do just that. So I've got quite a few of those. They come on here every year just like crazy. Then I also have some of these, I call them winter onions, but I guess the proper term is the Egyptian walking onions. And I don't have much of them, and mostly this time of the year I just use them for the green onion blades. They, those are some nice blades there for onions. I've also got some onions up there in a pot that I can plant, but this time of the year the garden doesn't look all that pretty. I've got, here's my big stack of cages down through here, tomato cages, and this over here is where all these white pipes is where I plant my tomatoes, and I have, and peppers, and anyway, I have drip irrigation hooked up there, and it goes into those little pipes, and I'll do a video, but we plant the plants there by those pipes. And every few years, this will make my third season with these done like this on this piece of property right here, this part of the garden. So I will change that later. And I hope you can hear me with all this wind blowing today. I thought it was going to be a calm day, but anyway, I also have a little trellis here. It needs cleaned up and cleaned out of here because it won't be long, but I plant my green beans on this right here, and you can see the green bean vines are still on there. I'll take and move this over to another part of the garden this year. I have a drip irrigation hooked up on it too, or a soaker hose hooked up on it. But over here is where I grow my tomatoes. My tomatoes, I got these cables up here, and I'll have cages. I've took them down over there. You can see those cages. There were cages go on top of those, and they'll get taller than those cables over there. I had big boys planted on that furthest row last year, and they got taller than with two of the 4 or 5 foot tall concrete wire baskets that I make. They come clear over the top of that and started hanging down, and I'll use that cable to hang on to the side of the basket so the basket don't fall over. And that's what these cables are for. This spring, hopefully I can do a video and show you how I plant my tomatoes. But anyway, they'll get taller than that wire over there, and they will load down with tomatoes. And this garden really does good. And for some reason, the row out here by the road, which I think sometimes is because the others shade it some, it seems to do the best. But I've gotten the other baskets, like down through here, I've got this all cleaned out. But this row right here, I didn't get the baskets out of there yet, and I've got to get that done. Here's another row that I cleaned the baskets out, and I've got these little, this drip irrigation and these little hoses here. I planted some broccoli and cauliflower for the winter in some of these spots, and I buried this dripper here, and it might not have been a good idea. It's all been down in the dirt. I may have to replace it, but when I get started, I'll have all these out when I get ready to water for the first time, and I'll make sure they all drip. These do 1 gallon an hour, so I'll put the water on for an hour, and that's plenty of water. and it'll usually be good for the whole entire week. And I'll, like I say, do another video later when I'm planting the tomatoes and show you how I do it. Over here is our peppers, and we get so many peppers, but I had this whole row: bell peppers, jalapenos, cayennes. There's a pepper that you can stuff, oblano peppers, I believe it is. We had some of those planted here. In fact, you can see a red one right down there. We gave away tomatoes and could not, there's one of the pomelos that dried out. We had so many peppers, we do every year. This year was sure enough a bumper crop of peppers, but this row here will probably get moved on out here, where farther in the garden, and I'll probably plant tomatoes here instead of peppers. I kind of like to rotate things around and stuff, but you'll get to see more of that hopefully as the gardening season comes along. I've still got to get the pepper baskets out. All that don't take but just a few minutes to do. I usually put a pipe down through here this year to for drip irrigation for my peppers. Well, I didn't get around to it, getting it all hooked up, and I've got just a few of the drippers hooked up on this row, but I'll finish it out this year because I'll probably put tomatoes down through here this year. But here's one that's hooked in here to the pipe. I don't know if you can see that. I'll find another one up there. That's hooked into the main irrigation, and you got the little dripper, and it goes down here into that white pipe there. And I'm learning how to video, so I'm just playing around here showing you, and I hope this you can see this good. And then I put these cages around because they will droop over and everything, kind of like your tomatoes do, and they'll break off, so I put cages around them. But I only got to water a little bit of them this year, and I didn't hardly water at all because we had such a bumper crop of peppers. I actually wanted them just to quit and die and we'd be done with it. But they made clear up until frost, and there's gobs of peppers that's still on them. I probably could use them for seeds, but I've got plenty of seeds put back. I may get some and just try them to see if some of those that's still in the pod, if they will work. But over there is where I've got my 2 rows of onions I just planted, getting started. And then I've got dogs too everywhere. Got 3 beagles and a cow dog. And anyway, not going to show you their pen because I hadn't cleaned it out today. This down through here looks like a grown-up mess, and it is. This is my blackberry row, and this year they got diseased and started dying out on me. These are thornless Arapaho berries, and I have always grown a lot of berries, but these old vines this year, I don't know if they're going to make anything. A bunch of them died, and I think because last winter it got so dry, and this winter has been extremely dry. And other people around here that grow tame blackberries have said they've had the same thing. But we still got some, and my mom a while back made me a blackberry cobbler from these, and my wife's made a little jelly. But they didn't make this past season like they normally do. But you can kind of see them here. And one thing too, they was dying out and wasn't doing good, and I let these old morning glory vines come up over them this year, and I just kind of got aggravated and gave up on them. But I'm gonna take these all out, and I'm gonna do away with them. I think I'm gonna let these here just see if they'll come on this year. But I've got another spot out here I'll show you sometime, and we're gonna kind of grow us an orchard there. We already got some trees started, pears and apples and peaches and stuff, and we're gonna grow more of a orchard out that way. But these are the vines. I grew them along the road here, and they kind of I kind of let them go too this year to see, because you see how long that one there is. I'll get back here, scoot back a little bit, maybe you can see those vines just go crazy all over the place. I've got this black stuff down everywhere. This is that stuff you can buy. It's not all that expensive, and it lasts for several years if you buy the good stuff. the stuff that's guaranteed like for 10 years or so if you buy that. I did originally buy the stuff that's guaranteed like for 2 years. Well, it won't even last a year. But this stuff here is still good, and it still looks good. It's just black, and it's made where the water will go through, but your weeds won't come up through there. And when you're growing tomatoes and stuff, the weeds can sure choke your crop out. So I do this, and it stays really neat and clean looking, and just really looks nice in the summertime when it's going. Right now, like in the winter, it looks horrible. This is the first week of March, and just getting out here and kind of really getting serious. I come out in the winter and do some stuff. These here are Primacane blackberries, and they still have the leaves on them, still green. Never did completely, the leaves fall off. I've got 3 of these planted. They're a thorn variety of blackberry, and they just honestly, they're okay, but they're not what I was wanting. I like the Arapahoes I had planted. I actually bought all these, I guess, at Lowe's, and but I bought these like a year or so ago, or year before last, and got them started. These down here I got about 10 years ago, and I keep trying to get them spread out, but this year I'd take the roots and bury them, and they just wouldn't do good. They just, I watered them, tried to do everything I could, they just died out on me, and I think they've gotten some kind of disease. But before, boy, we'd pick the biggest old buckets of, or bowls. My wife would come out here every day with a big old bowl and pick that thing full of blackberries, and I would eat these blackberries when I come out to work in the garden in the mornings. I would eat these for a snack, and I'll tell you, if you eat too many, it can mess up your digestion a little bit. But I sure like these blackberries. But these down here, this Primacane, some on the internet have had these on YouTube, but I've kind of been disappointed with these. But I've got 3 plants here, but they've still got their leaves, and they make berries, and I'm going to leave them this year and try. But I think in the new orchard, I'm just going to grow the tame variety, the thornless variety, and see, they make such big berries that, like I say, the Arapaho variety, it just really done good. Anyway, this is a little bit of the garden, getting ready for springtime. It's a pretty sunny day today, about 70 degrees. I hope you're having a wonderful day where you live, and this is March 9th, 2018, and God bless you.